Hello everybody and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Figure Forecast. Very special Figure Forecast. Year anniversary since we first recorded the first episode of the Figure Forecast. As ever, I'm joined by my co-host since day one, Damien Cross. How are you, Damien?
It is King Damo.
King Damo.
Actually.
Sorry, Peasant Sam.
I'm doing pretty good. 1 year ago today, for us recording, we released our first episode. Feels both really long time ago and like it's gone super quick. But yeah, it's a big milestone. It'll be a couple of days ago for listeners, but yeah, 27th of January 2021 was the first episode released. So
it feels bizarre that it's been a year. It really does, like you say. It feels ages ago, but it feels like it's gone super quick. And as with our first episode, we're going to be discussing the hot topic at the minute, Royal Rumble. There's going to be a lot of Rumble talk. Past Rumbles, future Rumbles, Rumbles in the jungles. Let's get ready to Rumbles. So we'll be talking about the Royal Rumble. Is there anything on your mind at the minute, Damien, with the wrestling world?
I mean, Royal Rumble is the most exciting time. Well, it's the start of the most exciting time of year.
It's got to be one of the best pay-per-views there is, if not the best.
And I think that, I think it's probably one of the best across promotions.
Absolutely.
Like, as bad as WWE is at times, I feel like everyone can get into a Royal Rumble. Just for those now 2 matches, even if the rest of the pay-per-view is terrible, those 2 matches are normally pretty exciting, pretty fun to watch. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fan or even a casual, you normally get into it, especially if there's some surprises. So I'm pretty excited. It's a Saturday this year, which is nice as well. Don't have to take any time off work.
No, exactly.
So I'm pretty excited for the Royal Rumble.
I'm looking forward to it. There's rumours going around of surprise people in both the men's and women's coming in. It's just there, isn't it? It's the hot topic at the minute. Do you have any particular highlights of Rumbles in the past?
Well, we've kind of talked about them off mic a little bit to obviously prepare for this week, but some of the past Rumbles have been particularly entertaining. More of a highlight in general of Rumbles other than a specific one. I always like the Kofi Kingston spot, as it is kind of now referred to. I don't think he originated it. It might have been John Morrison doing the first one, but whether it's always one of the more agile guys finding some fancy way of avoiding elimination. We've had Kofi Kingston walking on pancakes, we've had handstands, climbing onto chairs, the barricade, other wrestlers. It's a unique spot to the Rumble. You can only really do it here, and it's really allowed a couple of wrestlers to show off their creativity, or producers. I'm not gonna pick up who's making, but it's allowed some people to show off their creativity over the years, and I always look forward to seeing it.
One of those spots that I remember is Mandy Rose, when she fell out the ring and fell onto Otis to stop being eliminated. That was a good one. Just thinking back to some of my favourite Rumble memories. Not too long ago, 2 years ago, Edge returning. The last big pop that I remember in WWE. I'm just really looking forward to the Rumble. Talking about past Rumbles, during the week we put it up on Twitter that we're going to review and watch a Rumble match from a Royal Rumble gone by. The vote was either the 2005 Rumble, where it's the controversial finish with Batista and John Cena, or I think it was 2015, where Roman Reigns won to deafening boos, even though The Rock was there trying to get him over. The 2005 Rumble won, so that's the one we watched.
Yeah, 2 very noteworthy endings to Royal Rumbles.
For different reasons.
Yeah.
Very different.
I didn't watch the 2005 one originally. It was just kind of at the start of me getting into wrestling, and we didn't have access to watching the pay-per-view, so I didn't actually watch the Rumble, but I believe I had a book probably the following Christmas, a WWE annual or something, and it had a detailed breakdown of the Royal Rumble in there. It seemed like a really good pay-per-view. So I was kind of excited to actually sit down and watch the match. I think it lived up to its reputation.
Yeah, the finish certainly did.
Yeah.
We'll start from where we began watching it. And we began on the segment before the Rumble. We didn't watch the whole pay-per-view. So the segment was JBL had just won, or retained, sorry, his world title. Went into Teddy Long's office.
Yeah, it's kind of like a backstage office area.
Covered in champagne with some girls.
Yeah,
do you remember what happened?
Yeah, he goes in with his cabinet and he's kind of celebrating, almost drowning himself in champagne.
I remember he couldn't see barely. He had to keep wiping his eyes. He had champagne in them.
And then he gets put into a match at the next pay-per-view. He gets set up. He's gonna get set up in a barbed wire steel cage against the Big Show or something.
I do remember that at No Way Out. I remember watching that. I used to get my auntie to record VHS tapes, and cause she had Sky and we didn't. This was before the pay-per-views were on Sky Box Office. Some of the littler pay-per-views were on Sky Sports, so she'd record them for me, and then I'd watch the tape at my house. So I remember watching that. So yeah, 2005.
It shows how much WWE has changed, I think that does, because nowadays you don't really get that just on the spot decision. This match is happening, here you go, look forward to it next month. And we also don't really have that authority figure in the same way. We still kind of got it, and this isn't an ask for it back. Some of the authority figures have been terrible over the years, but it was kind of a little bit nostalgia of like, oh yeah, this is how things used to be, how far we've come.
I think if you're thinking authority figures, certainly Teddy Long's up there the best, with maybe Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
And Vince back in the day when he was clashing with Stone Cold. Yeah, it was an interesting segment, shall we say, which led into the Royal Rumble match, the main event. Do you remember who the first two were?
The first two, if I'm going to remember this correctly, is Eddie Guerrero.
Correct.
And name redacted, Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit.
Which, given what we know, is a bit awkward, but we'll judge it by the lens of the time. That is a hell of a starting two at the time. Those really are two of the hardest workers on the roster in 2005, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
To start the Rumble is off to a great start. It doesn't last because we know why. It turns out the 2005 Royal Rumble is famous for two reasons, which
we didn't realise going into it.
No, for some reason I thought these were separate Rumbles, but this is the infamous Daniel Puder
poor guy
beatdown Rumble.
Yeah.
He comes out number 3.
Yeah.
And
Hardcore Holly came number 4.
Comes out number 4, and then Benoit, Guerrero, and Hardcore Holly just chop him to bits for like 5 minutes.
Poor guy.
It is a little bit uncomfortable to watch because it's pretty real. Like, it was a hazing kind of thing.
You could see the pain on his face, and he wasn't selling it. He was hurt.
Thankfully, hazing in that way doesn't seem to be as much a part of WWE. At least not. We don't hear about if it is.
Not as visible.
It's definitely something thankfully left in the past. It made me laugh that Hardcore Holly is immediately eliminated after Daniel Puder, like within seconds. Meaning he was literally just put in the Rumble to chop Daniel Puder for a bit and then get eliminated. There was no other purpose. It's a bit of a sour taste to start your Rumble, but I suppose at the time you might not have, or I wouldn't. I would have been 12, like, unless of course you was really following the ins and outs of professional wrestling. You probably wouldn't have known what was going on. The crowd
loved it, didn't they?
Yeah, they were all for it. The quietening so they could hear the slaps, but it was a bit of a weird start.
It was a weird start. As a whole, I think we both said when we finished it was a bit uneventful. It was just a Royal Rumble match, almost as if you were playing on a 2K game, and it was just simulated through, and people were just being thrown out sort of without any fanfare, and then you got to the ending. Yeah,
it definitely seems that as the years have gone on, it's become a lot grander.
More spectacles in there.
Yeah, the surprise returns. I mean, we don't know if there was any that were a big surprise in 2005 because
I don't think there was.
It all seemed pretty run-of-the-mill, this superstar. Very stacked.
Yeah.
everyone apart from maybe 2 were
Who was
quite
that
memorable.
dude? The one that I couldn't even remember.
I have forgotten. That's a bit unfortunate. Kenzo
We'll
Suzuki?
Yes, Kenzo Suzuki. That was it. Kenzo Suzuki. Well pulled out.
And there was a couple of others. Luther Reigns,
Roman's brother.
which I joked was Roman's brother, and Mark Jindrak were a couple of the ones that didn't really do much in my memory. But most of the rest of the roster, for either good or bad, most of the other entrants were known. There's a couple of bad ones, but they were still like, oh, I remember that guy. Yeah, he was in it for ages. Yeah. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to think in 17 years' time how much of this year's Rumble will still be memorable.
Well, this is what I was saying. Who's going to be who the hell was that guy? When we look back in 17 years and we sort of joked maybe it'll be... I can't even think of the names we went through now. I'm thinking Rick Boogs in my head, but I don't think it's going to be Rick
Hopefully
Boogs.
not. Hopefully
Madcap Moss was one of them.
Yeah, like just wrestlers that haven't shone yet. Yeah. Still got loads of potential ahead of them, but at the moment in time they're not shining stars. And will we remember them in 17 years' time? I mean, maybe Madcap Moss will be like a 10-time world champion when he retires.
I mean, he's got all of the attributes that Vince loves. He's a big, muscly man. Yeah. Vince loves big, muscly men.
You can't really predict how careers are going to go because of injuries and anything like that. So it will be interesting kind of to look back. And we've now got a recording of some of our thoughts at the time. So hey, maybe when we're in our 40s... Jesus.
That's a scary thought.
We'll be able to look back on some of our 40s.
Thoughts. That is scary. One interesting thing for me watching it was seeing the wrestlers that's still active now.
Yeah.
Like, what sprung to mind was Edge was in there, Christian was in there. Both of these people had to retire because of injuries and now they're back 17 years later.
Rey Mysterio was in there.
Rey Mysterio's still in there. John Cena, I guess he's still an active member. Still active 17 years later. It's crazy really when you think about it. That's a long time to be professionally falling on your back.
Yeah.
Can't do you much good.
I mean, Randy Orton spoke recently about some of the aches and pains he's had from doing the RKO for 17 years, 20 years, whatever. So, yeah, it's going to take it out of you in the long run, but it is a testament to them that they're still going after all this time.
Absolutely. Well, we did eventually get to the finish of the Rumble, and it was as memorable as what people say. It was one of the all-time finishes for the Rumble.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it has. And it didn't exactly finish how I remember. I didn't remember that it was a Batista bomb where they both went over the rope at the same time. I don't know what I pictured in my head. Maybe that they both, like John Cena clotheslined Batista and they both went over. But yeah, Batista bomb, both went over, hit the floor at the same time.
Completely unplanned.
Yeah.
Like the fact that both feet hit the floor at the exact same time.
And it was exactly the same time. You couldn't even slow it down and say Batista touched or Cena touched. They touched at the same time.
I mean, the Royal Rumble as well has been going on since the late 80s. I think. I hope I got that right.
Don't quote us on that.
But it's been going on like 15 years at that point.
Yeah.
And that has not happened.
Yeah.
Like there's been some close calls in the past, but the fact that it's like how do you plan for that?
No,
and they didn't.
Exactly. They didn't.
It's why after a few minutes of the referees kind of just awkwardly raising each wrestler's arm in turn and being like, he won. Vince comes storming out.
I have to say, well done to the referees, to be fair, for sort of buying time, if you want, and for backstage to figure things out.
Yeah, Vince comes storming out. The angriest I think I've ever seen him look.
He did look angry. So angry, he popped a quad.
Yeah, a legit anger as well. Slides into the ring, pops his quad. I don't even know how you do that.
God knows.
Sits down because he can't stand.
It just adds to it, doesn't it?
And just barking orders. Why everyone's looking a bit confused.
He looked at everyone's face and like, what the hell's going on? Why is he sitting down?
I believe as the story goes, well, after he leaves, he refuses assistance and then manages to tear his other quad because he won't get any help. Which, just might be the most Vince McMahon thing ever.
From everything we hear, it's Vince.
They restart the match from the last two, and after a brief back and forth, Batista manages to eliminate John Cena to go on to face Triple H at WrestleMania 21. Both of those wrestlers catapulted into superstardom, both in WWE and out. They're both now quite big movie stars.
I was about to say household names, perhaps, maybe.
I would say they both are. John Cena, perhaps more, but yeah. Batista has done well with like his movie roles. Like Guardians of the Galaxy definitely is going to have made him well known. He's had roles in the James Bond franchise.
True.
Now in June as well. Lots of other movies as well. Those are just some of the biggest ones. Yeah. So
Batista almost looks like a different person, doesn't he? Back then to now.
17 years ago.
I know, but
time can change.
It's crazy, isn't it? He had that little soul patch type thing going on.
He had hair.
Completely different, yeah. True. Well, I think he shaves his head now.
Probably. Yeah. But I'm not going to say this as an absolute, but it's got to be one of the more successful final twos that I've watched, at least. In the fact that both final two were they were nothing, but this was a push for both of them. They both went on to win their first world title at that year's WrestleMania, and then catapulted to megastars. I don't think two people have quite managed to do it.
But you know what? In the moment, last year, at the end of the Women's Rumble, when it was Rhea and Bianca, I had a similar feeling to watching Cena and Batista. Obviously, what's happened with both women since then hasn't been amazing.
There is still time.
It was a similar kind of aura at the same. They both felt like proper stars. Both pairs felt like proper stars.
And even though their run in the last year haven't been exactly awe-inspiring, they do both feel like big stars, and it feels that WWE isn't utilising them, rather than that they weren't good enough for the spot. It does feel like they did get pushed to that moment of these two women are amazing, and then it's WWE that have dropped the ball.
Yeah, especially with Ripley. It's a shame what's happening with her at the minute, because she looks like a complete tosser in this Nikki ASH story. It's terrible, putrid stuff. But look, enough of that. I don't want to speak about that today, because we're talking about the Rumble. We're excited about things, and I don't want to bring the mood down with terrible Monday Night Raw guff.
Yeah, that's our kind of thoughts on that Rumble. It was a really good one, and hopefully this year is another good one, and we don't have a repeat of the other option with the Roman Reigns booing.
Well, it's billing to be a good Rumble. I'm excited for it. I'm excited every year, but I am excited for it this year, with like all of the talk, all of the rumours going into it. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but it's billing to be a good Rumble, and I'm looking forward to it. I know you are too.
Before we get on with our kind of fun segment, I do have a couple of things that I've seen this week in the Twitter sphere. That thought I'd just kind of pose to you as a short segment. First of all,
okay, I don't know about these, by the way, so it's just completely off the cuff.
There is an amazing moment from AEW last night that has been making the rounds on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen the ladder spot in GIF form yet.
Sammy Guevara, the cutter, the top,
amazing spot. And it's been generating a bit of contention due to certain outlets referring to it as an RKO.
Okay.
And I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit, because surely if you're a casual fan, that is an RKO.
It is, yeah.
Like, Randy Orton has transcended kind of professional wrestling into kind of pop culture with memes and stuff, that so many people know what the RKO is, that referring to it as a cutter is correct and exactly what it was, because Sammy Guevara isn't Randy Orton. They are separate people.
Really?
But I saw a lot of hate about referring to it as an RKO from some like wrestling groups. Like if BT Sport,
yeah,
I mean they're WWE affiliated, but if they were to post something about it, you'd expect them to refer to it as an RKO because they're not in the know, and it was just kind of weird that there was so much hate about it.
I mean, with mainstream media, that's what they're going to know it as. Like you say, Randy Orton's transcended it and has made that move his own. I think you find it a lot with sort of, I guess wrestling is kind of a niche. With a niche thing like that, once mainstream media gets hold of things and maybe they report it a little bit different to like wrestling journalists, the fan of the niche content get jealous because it's gone to people that don't necessarily know it as much as they do, in inverted commas. And I think that's probably what's happened here.
Yeah, it was just kind of drawing a lot of comments and a lot of shares on Twitter, so a lot of retweets. So I thought
sounds like mutants, to be honest, getting angry about nothing in their mum's basement. But
the other thing was an interesting post I saw the other day. I can't remember all of the picture, but there was a picture you had to eliminate one legend from each of the trios.
Is this like that DVD picture I sent you, where you have to pick three of those?
So they list. There was 9 names, but the first 3 were the ones that I kind of saw and can remember, and the most contentious. The choices of who to eliminate are between John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Undertaker.
So I have to eliminate one. Without a doubt, it's Undertaker. I've never been an Undertaker fan in my life. That's the easiest decision I've made for a while.
As bad as it is, I have to agree that you can't pick one of the other two. Both of them are so instrumental to different eras of WWE that if you take them away, WWE might not exist now. Now, Undertaker has put on some phenomenal matches. Pun not intended, but I'm glad I used that word. So many great WrestleMania moments. The streak is an iconic part of WWE lore. But if it didn't exist, you wouldn't be able to miss it because it didn't exist. But WWE could still survive. But I feel like if you take Stone Cold out, the Attitude Era just stops. WWE probably lose the Monday Night Wars, and there is no WWE anymore.
Well, as big as The Undertaker was, he was never the face of the company, was he?
And John Cena, he was the top guy for like 15 years.
Stone Cold leading WWE into a new era. John Cena doing the same. Roman Reigns doing it now. I'd even put Reigns above Undertaker, probably.
In terms of their role in the company, yeah, like Undertaker had massive pull backstage, but he was never the
main guy.
The main guy. He wasn't your kind of figurehead. Yeah. There was always somebody else. He was important throughout. People can put down their fish forks, their pitchforks.
The fish forks.
But yeah, I just thought I'd get your opinion on that after I saw it. I thought you probably would pick Undertaker. You do have a bit of Undertaker hate.
But it's not Undertaker. Well, yeah, it's Undertaker hate. I'll admit. I've never been an Undertaker guy. I prefer Kane to the Undertaker. I don't like Kane, but I prefer him to
Masked
Undertaker.
Kane is really good. I'm holding up.
Even shaved head Kane was good.
Yeah,
I like. He was in that 05 Rumble.
He was. Still kind of terrifying.
I was scared of Kane. Like, not terrified of Kane, but I was a bit scared of Kane in that Zack Ryder feud thing where he pushed him off the ramp.
Yeah.
And that was 2010, 2011 when I was 16.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was creepy, man.
Intimidating presence, definitely Kane. Anyway, that was the little segment there.
Thank you for that segment. Well, let's jump into my challenge that you sent me from last week. Do you want to explain what it was for our listeners?
For anyone who missed that segment, I set Sam the challenge of booking a feud or a match. I can't remember how much I specified it, but
I've gone feud.
I think it was a feud. I said between Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
and I just kind of wanted to see what kind of how you would book it, so to speak. Okay. And I think it could be quite interesting. Hopefully, it's pretty good. We'll let the listeners be the judge.
Let's hope it's interesting. Otherwise, skip forward about 10 minutes, starting from now. Right. So this is what I've done. I've booked it as it's the Royal Rumble. I've booked it from the Rumble this weekend to WrestleMania. Okay.
Okay.
So
good.
What I've done is Rey and Dominic are both in the Royal Rumble at the same time. Rey Mysterio eventually eliminates Dominic when he's not looking. So one of the classic not looking over the top rope. On Raw the next day, so they have a promo, and Rey explains that he eliminated Dominic to prove to him that he still has a lot to learn, and that he's still fairly new to this, and that he needs to listen to Rey, essentially. So Dominic kind of accepts this begrudgingly, one of those classic promos where it's like, yeah, I'm angry, but I kind of understand what you're saying. Now I was thinking, we need I've missed a bit in that. In the Royal Rumble, Rey Mysterio is then eliminated by Chad Gable.
Okay.
So the next week, Chad Gable stumbles across Dominic backstage next to a few crates and sort of explains to him that he reckons he can teach him more than Rey Mysterio. He eliminated Rey Mysterio in the Rumble. He's better than Rey. He's the tag team champion, the current tag team champion. Might be a spoiler for my predictions later. And that, look, I'm a champion, your dad's not a champion. I'm clearly better than he is now. And it's a classic WWE. It's sort of Chad walks away, it zooms in on Dominic, and he's just there thinking, pondering what Chad Gable's just said. So the next week, Rey Mysterio speaks to Dom, says that he saw the footage of Chad Gable talking to him, and he kind of explains to Dom that he needs to be patient and listen to what he's saying. He can teach him a lot of things. He's been doing this for a long time. Dominic kind of accepts this, but you can tell he's got Chad's words on his head. And over the next couple of weeks, Chad sort of continues to worm in on Dom and plant a seed in his head. He offers to join the Alpha Academy with Otis and him, but he does reject it. He stays loyal to his dad, and there's a feud for the tag team titles. So Rey Mysterio, Dominic against Otis and Chad Gable. So the title match happens at Elimination Chamber. Alpha Academy end up retaining by Chad Gable pinning Rey Mysterio. They do it with some shenanigans where Dominic can't see. Maybe Otis is distracting Dominic. He doesn't see a low blow, say, to Rey Mysterio. So to Dominic, it looks like Chad has beaten Rey Mysterio clean. After the match, Dominic's really angry with Rey. He's lost the match clean, and he ends up aligning with the Alpha Academy. We've got a trio. We've got the Alpha Academy, a faction, and with Dominic Mysterio in. Raw the next night, Dominic does a promo. He says that Rey Mysterio, this is classic WWE. I was in WWE mind here, right? So Rey Mysterio only thinks about himself and his own legacy. He doesn't think about Dominic. He's more interested in the Rey Mysterio name rather than the Mysterio name continuing through Dominic. Dominic wants to make his own legacy with the Mysterio name, so he's branching away from Rey. Rey's selfish. Selfish, man. Everyone knows that Rey Mysterio is selfish behind that mask. You can tell in those contact lens eyes. So yeah, he joins the Alpha Academy. And this kind of goes on, bubbles on until WrestleMania, where it's Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. Ladder match. Synergy to the SummerSlam ladder match, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio. If Dominic wins, he becomes Prince Mysterio, gets his own mask, and takes the Mysterio name. Mysterio gets demasked and has to leave wrestling, so Dominic continues. ... And Dominic does win the match. Ooh. Is what I decided. Okay. I haven't decided how Dominic wins the match, and then I say ... because this leads into my challenge for you. So you've got to continue this feud.
Oh wow!
You've got to continue that masterpiece, and maybe.
Do I get to decide how Dominic wins?
Yeah, you get to decide how he wins. Okay. All I've written is Dominic wins the match, so you decide how he wins, and maybe up to the next pay-per-view.
Okay, I'll roll with that challenge. I think I can do a good job. I like the booking. I like the use of the Alpha Academy kind of setup with it.
I don't know why I picked Chad Gable. I like Chad Gable, and I think he's probably the best heel at the minute in old WWE.
I like their setup with the kind of like I'll teach you how to be a better wrestler kind of gimmick. I think it works really well. One thing I did notice is you kept calling him Chad instead of Master. Gable.
Oh yeah.
Just how weird Chad as a first name sounds when you say it like 5 or 6 times in a row.
It's very American.
Yeah. We'll let our listeners give a little bit of feedback on that, whether that was a good booking from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, and I'll take the next leg of that booking.
Luck.
Yeah, you kind of.
I really wanted to get an electric chair in there where Rey Mysterio was on his shoulders and then like the thumbs down Batista type thing, but I couldn't wiggle it in.
I might take some liberties with the match at WrestleMania.
That's fine.
With the rule being that Dominic has to win, and you've set up that if he wins, he gets the mask and Rey has to retire.
I think I got a bit over the top there because I didn't actually write down that Rey Mysterio has to leave WWE. I just wrote that he's demasked.
He has to take his mask off.
Passes on the Mysterio name to Dominic.
Well, that gives me a little bit of leeway. And I'll take the next. I'll try and make it WWE, but I'll try and make it good as well. I think I can do a good job with this one.
I think you can. You've got a WWE mind, and I sort of took myself away from WWE a while ago.
Well, I think that's a good time to kind of wrap up the Royal Rumble special. I guess we'll call this episode. There is one big finale we need to give though, and that is of course our predictions.
Predictions
for Royal Rumble 2022.
I'm looking forward to this. We've got some interesting picks for the topics. We've picked a few different categories. Do you want to go through the categories first?
Yes, there's not a lot of matches this year, because obviously the 2 Royal Rumbles, that's 2 hours of show. There's not a lot of matches on the card. So we'll do the matches, which as of the 27th of January is the WWE title match.
Season 2 and he's still struggling with WWE.
The Raw Women's titles match, the Mixed Tag match, and the Universal title match. So we'll cover those ones first.
Yep.
Let's start with the WWE title. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. Okay. 2 meaty men clashing.
2 meaty men, indeed.
Who are you picking?
Well, for me, the story is kind of pointing towards Brock Lesnar taking Bobby Lashley a bit lightly, if you want. He's joking, being this jokey Brock, and he's not taking him too seriously. Now, I don't know if that's too obvious to say that he's going to be surprised like he was against Goldberg, against Lashley. But I think I'm going to take the bait, and I'm going to say Bobby Lashley is going to beat Brock Lesnar.
Okay, I mean, I was very tempted when I was thinking about my predictions to join you in the Bobby Lashley pick. I'm going to go with Brock because it feels like it's a bit early for Brock to drop the title. I'm enjoying Brock in his current gimmick, and I kind of want to see a little bit more of this Brock Lesnar. I didn't think I'd be saying that.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
And it feels like there's a lot to do with him. There's a couple of ways they could probably go about it, but I'm going to pick him to retain.
Okay.
At this stage.
That's fair. For me, I know it would be a very short title and probably Brock Lesnar's shortest, but he was never planned to be champion for me, so that's played on my mind too.
Next up is the Raw Women's title match. Becky Lynch versus Doudrop.
Most obvious result of the night for me, it has to be a Becky retain. Especially with rumours of a certain someone returning, potentially in the Rumble.
Yeah, I'm also going with Becky Lynch. There is a thought of crossing my mind of she has to retain, but she doesn't have to win. I've messed up predictions with that in the past, with DQs and stuff. But I think it's probably going to be a Becky Lynch victory.
She's got to beat Doudrop. Come on, the name alone, Doudrop.
She's almost certainly walking out with the title. There is that little thought in my mind about a screwy finish, DQ, count out, something like that. But I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to go with Becky Lynch.
Okay.
Well. Our third match, a match I'm surprised I'm so invested in. The mixed tag match, Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice.
Well, I'm glad you're invested in it, because there has to be at least one person in the world that is.
Mr. and Mrs. Mazanin and Mr. and Mrs. Copeland.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched a single minute of this feud. I've seen GIFs and some stills of Beth Phoenix pulling the most cringeworthy faces I've ever seen. Unfortunately, I have to say Beth and Edge, for me, are going to win.
Yeah, they should, on paper at least. They're the better team. I mean, you could make an argument for Miz being better than Edge. You'd probably be wrong, but he's the younger man. Like you could make that argument, especially when WWE tries to have some glimmer of legitimacy in their product. But Beth Phoenix beats Maurice. There's that nagging feeling of some kind of screwy finish, a roll up or something.
I think if there's ever going to be a match on this card, it's going to be this one as a screwy finish. And this is WWE.
I'm also going for Edge and Beth Phoenix. I want them to win, and I think it would be.
I don't want them to win. I've gone off them. I've gone off them because of some still images that I've seen.
The grit couple versus the it couple.
That grit Edge is just the worst Edge ever. He's so serious. All of the melodrama is so terrible. Can I change my prediction?
Sure.
I'm going Miz and Maurice because I want them to win. I really want them to win. It's not that I really want them to win. I really don't want Edge and Beth Phoenix to win, so I'm going Miz and Maurice.
Okay. Well, changed it on the fly there.
The it couple against the couple.
Our final match is the Universal title. Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, versus Seth frickin' Rollins.
We don't have to call him that just because WWE have changed his name, do we?
I wanted to. Who are you going for?
Roman Reigns.
It's the real obvious one. He's been champion for 500 days, and yet for some reason I am going Seth frickin' Rollins.
It's the worst prediction ever. If he wins, I'll do some sort of forfeit.
My thought process is that one of the two title matches is going to have this kind of weird moment where the other champion costs the one. So either Roman costs Brock or Brock costs Roman. And I don't want to see Roman keep the title all the way till WrestleMania again. I want to see some other people get thing. I think Roman chasing Brock could be a little bit of a twist in the story. So out of the two possibilities, the two thoughts I had in my head is, one of them will cost the other the title. I am predicting that Brock is going to cost Roman. I'm not that if that doesn't happen and Rollins still wins, this still counts as being it. But that's my why. I'm going for Rollins, and Rollins will face the Royal Rumble winner.
I'm extremely confident that that's not going to happen.
Oh, you mentioned some of your theories, so we'll judge me on the night.
Let's get into some juicy stuff now.
let's start with the Women's Royal Rumble. Actually, before we start that, let's just go over some of our categories for this. We have decided to throw as many predictions at the Royal Rumble as we can think of, and we will be predicting for each match a winner, the number 30 entrant, one of the first 2 entrants, first or second, it doesn't matter there, and 3 surprise entrants across both. So it could be 2 men, 1 women, 3 women, 3 men, whatever our thought is. But the rule for the surprise entrants is we said they couldn't be an active roster member on WWE.com. So injuries would eliminate certain people from being in contention for this.
So just for context, that's kind of ruled out people like Bayley, Paige, and people along those lines that are out of injury. So even Sasha Banks, people like that.
Somewhat surprisingly, Paige and John Cena are both listed as active, just free agents on WWE.
So we haven't been able to pick them for the surprise entrances.
Let's start with the women's. Yeah, and we'll cover all the women's first, and then we'll cover all the men's, and then do the surprise entrance.
Okay.
I think. Who have you got for your winner?
So I've gone for a back-to-back win for Bianca Belair. Is who I've selected for this year's. I think unless the elephant in the room does come back, Bianca Belair is the only one with the star power to win the Rumble. You see these promos every week. On Raw and SmackDown from people like Dana Brooke, Liv Morgan, Naomi. I feel bad for Naomi putting her in that group, but saying, "Oh, this is why I'm going to win the Royal Rumble," and you watch it and go, "No, you're not. You're definitely not." So Bianca's the one that's got that star power. I think she's the one that's going to go back to back.
Yeah, it's not. It's bit you mentioned it to me earlier. It's been a long time since back to back winners, so. It could be good. It'd be really good for Bianca Belair. Really cement her legacy in the women's division, and she could have a great match against, as it stands at the minute, Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair. Obviously, there's plenty of time for that to change before you get to.
Doudrop.
But both of those matches would be good.
Yeah.
And you can book. Obviously, she's got the rematch against Becky as a possibility. A match against Charlotte would be really good anyway. I'd be all for it. I've gone in a different direction with a returning superstar. Did we mention it before? I can't remember, but I'm going with Bayley. Yep. Returning from injury, imminent, and could quite comfortably jump into the top of the division. It would be interesting to see if she returned as a face or as a heel. If it is a face, it's going to have to be like a new face persona. Obviously, she murdered the wacky, waving, inflatable tube man, Bailey Buddies.
Good memory.
So, could be a bit of a character shake-up, but face win, and then facing Charlotte. I said face too many times. At WrestleMania could be quite interesting.
Face facing Charlotte.
And it feels like the sort of thing WWE would do, so that's why I'm going with her.
It's a good shout. It is a good shout.
Because it does actually spoil some things. Let's do surprise entrants.
Okay.
Now, who have you got as your 3 surprise entrants across the Royal Rumbles?
So I've gone based on Carlito coming back last year. Sorry, God, the weeks of time. Last year. And also I follow him on social media. He's been playing up the fact he's not had a call and he will be doing something else on Saturday. I've gone Chris Masters to return. He seems like the sort of person that he could well return in the Royal Rumble. Do you want to do your first one?
Yeah, my first pick, I had this thought last episode. I mentioned there was a couple of names on my mind that I hadn't mentioned when we were discussing possible surprises. 2 of them we've already eliminated, which were Paige and John Cena. They were just kind of there, but when we said they had to be non-active roster members, they were eliminated. But there was one still remaining, and the rumour mill has really heated up these last few days on this being a possibility, almost to the point of it feels inevitable. But my first is Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it like 2 weeks ago. She's been gone a long time, and the women's division could really use big surprise.
It could.
And she is one of the
There's
biggest.
No one bigger.
They could bring in. I was trying to think of legends that could return and be big, but there isn't really too many. But Ronda Rousey would be a big. Well, it would have been a big shock if the rumours hadn't been there. But it'll be a big shock to those who don't follow those, and I think it's likely to happen now.
Yeah. So the second one that I've gone for, perhaps is a bit left field. He was released in the latest batch of releases, maybe the one before that. God knows, there's been so many. So I've gone that the Fiend Bray Wyatt will be returning in the Rumble. There's just been no talk of him doing anything really. There's been talk of him doing a Hollywood movie, maybe. I think I saw. But in terms of a wrestling return, there's been nothing. And WWE have got precedent this time round for getting ex-stars back into the Rumble with Mickie James. They contacted the Iconics / whatever they're called now. Inspiration. To see if they wanted to come back. And so, look, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm about probably 25% that it might happen, but I think there's a chance.
What are your thoughts if it is either just Bray Wyatt, not as the Fiend, or even worse, what if it is the Fiend but it isn't Bray Wyatt?
I don't want to think about that, to be honest. I really don't want to think about
that. My second pick, kind of on the basis of the Mickie James reveal, is to bring in. I really hope I'm getting this right. Is another TNA. Sorry, not even that anymore. Another Impact wrestler.
Yeah. Who
has been talking a bit about other promotions and stuff on Twitter recently, and although I don't feel it would make a big impact, I'm going for Moose. Feels like it could be a. I don't think Moose is making that noise. It could be a big kind of part of that crossover. I'm not sure how the live crowd would react to Moose. Depends how many of them actually watch Impact, but I was really struggling to think of Impact wrestlers. I don't watch Impact, unfortunately, so he's one I've seen a lot about, and people are quite high on Moose. So
yeah, he looks like a WWE superstar. In inverted commas, he's built like one. So if there was ever to be a Impact wrestler to come in, I think he's as good as any.
Yeah.
So my third one, it's going to happen, and I think he's going to win and go on to the Royal Rumble. Yeah, he's going to go on to the Women's Royal Rumble and also win that. So just imagine it. This gives away my number 30 pick as well. Number 30. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Glass smashes. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes down, stomps some mud holes, stunners a few people, goes on to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. It's in Texas. He's been promoted so much. We've seen people come back from worse injuries than he's got.
We have. I just can't see it. I really can't.
I can see it. I can see it clearly.
It seems really out there, and
a man's got a dream.
I'm going to top it. I'm going to go even more out there. There's been all this talk about the Forbidden Door. We've got Impact over on WWE being mentioned.
Well, before you say it, it comes to something when Stone Cold is more likely to appear in the Rumble than your pick.
Yeah. And it's not going to happen. This isn't going to happen. But on the minuscule chance that it does, I want it on this.
There's no chance. It's not minuscule. There's none.
I'm effectively throwing away my third guess here. But if it did, I'd be the king of prediction. For real.
I'll buy you a crown, a real gold crown, if he comes back.
My third guess for a surprise entrant is the name-dropped AEW star, recently returned to AEW and elsewhere, as AEW does allow their wrestlers to perform elsewhere. formerly known as Dean Ambrose, it is Jon Moxley.
Unbelievable, Kevin. Unbelievable.
It's never happening, but on the 1 in a billion chance it does. I want it on record that I predicted it.
1 in a Google flex is what it is.
All right. Let's carry on with our other predictions. You've already kind of mentioned one of the thoughts there for a winner, but who are you actually going to predict as the winner? Are you going all eggs in one basket on Stone Cold?
No, I'm not. I'm not. In our end of year review, we sort of looked to the future, and I predicted Riddle to win the Rumble. Now it's looking unlikely, but I'm a man of my word, and I'm going to stick with Riddle to win the Men's Rumble. I
mean, it's smart not to put all your eggs in one basket with Stone Cold. I'm not sure how smart it is to then pick Riddle, but
look, there's a chance.
I admire you sticking to your guns.
Watch Dominic Mysterio win. I should have booked it.
I'm going to go a little bit more sensible, and I'm going to pick Big E. Now, there's not a lot of names jumping out at me for the Men's Rumble this year. There's not a lot of names in the Rumble at the minute. And I'm not picking Johnny Knoxville. So I'm going to go with Big E. It would kind of get him back into the title picture immediately. It's really good. We mentioned it before. It's a really good time to drop the title, so to speak, because you can win the Rumble, get put straight back in there, get all your momentum back instantly, and it feels like a little bit maybe too obvious for WWE, but at the same time, it sets up a lot of things. So I'm gonna go with Big E. Not thinking about it too much there, but it seems like a reasonable pick. First entrance, we'll go with the women's. Now, they make a big deal about being number 1, but in reality, entering 1 and 2 is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, who do you think is going to be in one of those spots?
So for the women's one, I've gone for Bayley to come back. I just feel like it's something that could happen. Obviously, that's why I picked it.
Yeah.
But not really any reason. I've just gone for Bayley.
As I've predicted her to win, a little part of me hopes she doesn't enter first.
Well, you never know.
Winning from first, it does happen.
Well, that'd be a great way to bring her back if she's a babyface.
It just feels quite unlikely. And also, it'll be really tense for me the entire match, like every time they have a near elimination. I'm going for Charlotte Flair. Because she's entering as champion, which is a bit unusual. But we saw it with Brock Lesnar the other year, entering number 1 as champion, being like, I'm going to beat everybody. And I feel like we could see a similar repeat of kind of Charlotte having to go out first.
Yeah.
And even if she doesn't last very long, I could see a really interesting story being built where entrant number 2, entrant number 3 eliminates Charlotte really early in the Rumble.
That's it.
And there's your WrestleMania match.
It's kind of like you get 2 winners in this Rumble, don't you? Like we did when Brock was in it.
Whoever eliminates
one winner on that one.
Whoever eliminates Charlotte could easily just face her at WrestleMania.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
and then the winner can face
Becky.
So I'm going with Charlotte as being either 1 or 2.
The number 1 that I've picked for the men's or 2 match is Dolph Ziggler. I think he's going to be the marathon man, or he could even play the. I've just thought of someone that he could be. I was just about to say he could pick. He could play the World's Against Me, but then I thought, who plays that? Sami Zayn.
Dolph Ziggler is going to enter number 1 as Sami Zayn.
Yeah, no, Dolph Ziggler's gonna enter as number 1, but I've completely messed that up because Sami Zayn's gonna do it now. So yeah, I've gone Dolph Ziggler, but I'm wrong. So there we go.
I was just thinking of someone who could be the Iron Man, last the longest, and I've gone with Finn Balor. He's not really doing much at the minute, so
so much for that finish at SummerSlam protecting him.
Yeah, so. Oh, imagine if he enters. I want to say as the Fiend. That'd be terrible.
Imagine... No, that would be weird if the Fiend entered as Finn Balor.
Enters as a demon. What if he enters as Finn Balor and comes back later as a demon?
That'd suck. Still wouldn't win.
Yeah, I mean, that would only work if he was going to win. But Mick Foley did it. 3 faces of Foley. getting a bit sidetracked, I'm going to go with Finn Balor because I think he's a viable candidate to last a long time. It's normally given to a kind of a work rate wrestler for that position, and Finn is definitely falls into that category, so that's my pick.
Okay. Is that all the predictions out the way?
Our final predictions. Who's going to enter at number 30? The final spot.
Well, we've already said mine. Stone Cold Steve Austin for the reasons stated earlier. How about you?
I wanted to kind of get him in somewhere, so I've gone with John Cena because I think he could return, but I couldn't pick him as a surprise, so I've put him here. I don't think he's going to return at number 30, really, but I wanted to get him in predictions. It is a viable. The only problem is I don't see him winning, so it's a bit of a weird thing to have him return. But again, whoever eliminates him could set up a story. So
I suppose so.
I'm going to go with it.
Finn Balor as the Fiend eliminates him, and we have Firefly Funhouse match number 2, but with Finn Balor instead.
How about for the women?
Number 30 for the women, I picked Ronda Rousey.
Stepping on my earlier prediction for the surprise a little bit, but
I had to pick her at some point, otherwise I'm thick.
If she is going on to win, I think I prefer her coming in a little bit early. Actually getting a little bit of a display of Ronda Rousey. I
think she's so big, so much of a big draw, she has to be number 30 as that huge pop. Huge pop.
For me, I'm going for Asuka. Another returning from injury potential.
Yeah.
And as a complete hypocrite to what I said about Ronda Rousey, I think it'd be quite good for Asuka to come in and just clear the last few, just clear house. The only problem with it is, of course, if she's not winning, please don't bring her back. Don't do it like you did Dolph Ziggler a few years ago. So those are our predictions for this one. But they're a little bit out there. We're normally a little bit more on the mark, but
conservative, dare I say.
Royal Rumble, I think, is the time to go big or go home.
Look, we've got a dream, man. We've got a dream, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did. Well, I think that's the podcast done. We're running a bit long, sort of pushing the hour mark at the minute. So, it's been fun.
Yeah, hopefully the Royal Rumble is a really good show. And we have lots to talk about on our next episode.
Well, I know I keep saying it, but a wise man did tell me, if the matches are good, the show will be good, Damien.
Well, I think that speaks doubly for the Royal Rumble. If the Royal Rumbles are good, it doesn't matter about the rest of the matches.
Yeah, true. That's all you remember, isn't it? Like, think of a match from last year's Rumble. Not a clue.
Off the top of my head, nothing.
Not a single clue. I can barely remember who won.
Maybe if I sat there for a few minutes, I could pull a couple of matches out. But off the top of my head, nothing.
No, exactly. Well, that's it. That's episode 2 of season 2 done. We'll be back in probably a couple of weeks. Not straight after the Rumble. We'll see the fallout a little bit.
Trying to hit the every 2-week mark, I think, is a good thing here.
Yeah. Well, as ever, thank you very much for listening. I've been Sam Gardner. He's been Damien Cross and
King Damo
and Peasant Sam. And we'll see you next time around.
As always, thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to keep up to date with more of our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Figure4UK, on Facebook at The Figure Forecast, and on Instagram at The Figure Forecast. Thank you.